but all of our students have it already, so.
I'm sorry.
All right. Are you supposed to introduce me, John?
I'm not, but I can.
No, that's okay. I'd rather introduce myself anyway.
Okay.
That way I can only tell you the parts I want you to know. Well, welcome to our class on using the eSword Bible software program along with Sunset's own Bible library of products that we have made exclusively for eSword. It doesn't work with any other Bible software program at this time. We might mention more about that later. Hopefully you got a copy of the handout there. My name is Richard Cravy. I work in technology for the school here. I've been here 23 years now. The eSword project, as we called it at the time, which we began probably about 6 years ago, to get our Sunset textbooks, the ones we actually produce ourselves, our Sunset study guides, and some other materials onto eSword. That was a project I helped head up, and so obviously I was very excited about it then, and I'm still very excited about it now. But what we mostly want to introduce to you is just more the concept of using the materials and let you know it's available. It's not a sales pitch for you to go purchase it. Truth of the matter is, we lose money on every copy we sell. We sell it for a lot less than it cost us to develop it. And I believe before it was all over with, we spent must have been $60,000 or $70,000 to get our material onto eSword, and selling the entire thing for $89 each. We didn't sell a lot of them before we even recouped that. But that wasn't the purpose of it. We know that we're moving into a digital world more and more, and we needed to be there with our materials and make it available to as wide a number of people as possible. One of our target audiences was actually not the United States, but our many students outside the United States, many of whom do not have access to the wide range of printed materials that we do. And yet they're taking courses through us. They're part of either satellite schools or branch schools of Sunset, and they need access to resources, and gradually many of them are getting access to computers or perhaps a Apple-based tablet, and so can then use our materials. And that was our first audience with this, and probably more students outside the United States are actually using our materials in this way than so far inside the United States. But you probably recognize how this used to work. Most of us a little bit older in here, I can tell that already. And I remember when I first got into ministry, I found out I was going to be teaching in 1 Corinthians the next quarter, because that is in fact what we're doing right now here at Sunset. So I had a copy of my Bible and probably a couple of different translations of it, because I knew I would occasionally have to know what it says in the Greek language, though I'm no Greek scholar. Tell you the truth, when I was in college and took Greek, I made a D. It's the only D I made in college. And that was a low D at that. I think my average was 61 on my final grade. But I can at least sort of muddle my way through if I have an interlinear, which has the English and the Greek, and in this particular case actually has the Strong's or the Kohlenberger number, whichever book I bought. So, I'd always get that out, and whether it's on the dining room table or clear everything off my desk, and so then I get that out. Well, of course, I've got to take my notes, so I've got to have a notebook. And so I'm still very much into writing things by hand. Even my notes for this class are written by hand. I've not gotten around to learning how to type my notes up yet, but I had to have a notebook. Well, if you're going to study 1 Corinthians, you're going to need things like the background to the city, the background to the letter, the background to the people, the author, all those kind of things. That's where a Bible dictionary comes in. So you open up the Bible dictionary, and because you're going to use several references, Corinth, Paul, Corinthians, all sorts of things like that. Well, there's some key words in the book as you go through it, so you're gonna have to have a good dictionary, not the regular kind of dictionary, but expository type dictionary, and my old favorite still is Vine's Expository Dictionary. So you have to have that out and available to you. And then I was always taught when I went through Bible college that the last thing you do is go to a commentary. Do all your work yourself you can, and then go to those who probably are more knowledgeable and scholarly than you are, and compare what you discovered with what they're saying about it. But you gotta have some commentaries. Well, you know, how many commentaries do you have on 1 Corinthians? I probably have about 15 myself. And, but you know, I just brought one along this morning, William Barclay, one of my old favorites. So here I am, I'm ready to study. And that's how I studied for years. From the 1960s, when I began ministry, until the early 1990s, when the first Bible software came along that I discovered, and I started using it, and everything changed for me. And that's really the criteria behind using any Bible software program, whether it's the eSword program that we're focusing on here, or some of the much more expensive packages like made by Logos or Hermeneutica or Olive Tree, PC Study Bible, what other ones are there? The Floridian's Pocket Bible. I own all of those. Well, I don't own Hermeneutica. I finally said enough is enough at some point. My bank account was suffering too much. But I own all those other packages and maintain most of them. Word search on that. Yes, sir?
Did you give the security key for?
Yes, I did. For those who need the Wi-Fi, I just haven't made it out of the recording here. Connect 14, lowercase Connect 14, connects you to the Sunset Guest Wi-Fi, for those of you who need that. And while I would have these books all spread out on my desk or a dining room table or whatever it might be, that is somewhat of the basic concept behind most of the Bible software programs, whether it's Olive Tree's Bible Study, which I've opened up first here, or eSword that's going to open up right in front of it. Is they give you multiple books available on screen at the same time, but more than just open at the same time, they're connected to each other. Whereas before, when you're using a regular print book, you read the text of the scripture and then you decide, okay, well, I need this right here in chapter 1, near the end of it, he's talking about wisdom, Sophia. Well, I need to go look that up. So I go find out it's Sophia first in my interlinear, and then I go look that up in Vine's dictionary to see what he says about that. And then maybe I go to my regular dictionary and look up Corinth and see why wisdom was so important to the people who live there. But all that is right in front of you in eSword. And so this is pretty much the way eSword looks like when you first open it up. You'll find out in your handout this on page 3 why we settled on eSword. Number one, they were one of the few companies that would allow us to develop our materials to work with their program. Secondly, and maybe even more importantly, is the eSword Bible program itself is free. Go to the website, you download the software, you install it on your computer, and there's a large number of resources immediately available in it. Most of them, the ones that are what's often called the older classic things, like the older version of the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia that I started out with, whether it's Barnes' Notes, Matthew Henry's commentary, Thayer's on the Greek terms, and all of these, they're already right there ready for you to download and install at zero cost, which was very important for our students outside of the United States and many of our students here as well. I'm not saying there aren't other Bible programs that are better at some things or have more resources, because that wouldn't be true. Logos is probably considered the premier package, but if you buy the complete Logos package with every book they have available, I dare say you'll spend roughly between $20,000 and $30,000 or even to get the old classics on Logos. They sell Barnes Notes on Logos, it's free in eSword. If you want the older International Standard Bible Encyclopedia on Logos, you pay for that. If you want it in eSword, it's free. Now, unfortunately, one thing that isn't free is our materials that are in eSword, but we have tried to make it at a very reasonable price. So this is what eSword looks like. I realize they only give me small 55-inch screens or 60-inch screens here for you to see on. But this is basically the layout when you first install the program. And I just pointed things here. This is one of the two ways you can select what scripture you want to start with, because everything revolves around your passage that you're working with. And so if we were going to start there and we're going to do 1 Corinthians, I would just scroll down to 1 Corinthians, select chapter 1, and as soon as that's selected, it even asks me, do I want to select a verse as well, or just hit enter and it'll go to 1 Corinthians 1 instantly in this window. And that works just like that, 1 Corinthians 1. And now we're in 1 Corinthians 1 instantly. And so this is a Bible window. This is a dictionary window. This is a commentary window, and this is if you don't want to use handwritten notes or have a separate program like Microsoft Word running to enter your notes into, you can actually take your notes right inside of the program itself and then save it out in Word format or just leave it in the program itself, whatever you'd like to do about that. The little tabs that appear at the top of each separate window are showing the resources I have installed on my version, because there are paid resources available besides all the free ones. And again, it's listed on page 4 of your handout, where you can go get other paid resources, the New American Standard Bible, the New King James Version Bible, Vine's Expository Dictionary, lots of other resources that are available to purchase. But I would dare say that even though I own almost everything that you can buy for eSword, I own that, I would still say I've spent less to fully equip my copy of eSword than I spent for a good set of commentaries written by John MacArthur that only covered just the New Testament. And it was $699. Now, it doesn't work in eSword. That was the print copy that I purchased. But so for less than just one good set of print commentaries, I have every resource available to eSword, and they're regularly adding more stuff to that. And so, that's a basic concept. Now, our material, most of it is in the commentary window. Now, I've got all sorts of other things up here. And I'm looking at, here's the pulpit commentary, here's SIBI, that's our commentary set, our materials, Old and New Testament. John MacArthur's 1-volume commentary on the whole Bible, Jim McGuigan's 7 commentary set, F.P. Meyer's materials, New International Bible Commentary, the Preacher's Homiletical Commentary, Albert Barnes, the Believer's Bible, Bible Knowledge Commentary, Baker's New Testament Commentary, and the College Press Commentary Series. Not the new current set done by College Press, but the older, or what we always called it, the green set. Most of you who came through school here or in ministry for a while, you remember the older College Press set. That is available free of charge in eSword. That's available in some other Bible software programs as well, but I'm not aware of any of them that give it away free. But for eSword, it's free. And again, on page 4 of your handout, it tells about a website called BibleSupport.com that you can go create a free login to, and you can download and install literally thousands of resources that work in eSword without paying a penny for any of them. College Press, William Barclay, all sorts of other more classic commentary series like the Pulpit Commentary and so forth are all available there, and many more. So I'm not going to dwell on those. I've given you an insert into your handout on installing our materials into the eSword Bible program. It does take a little technical know-how, but we're always available to help you by phone or email or otherwise if you're having trouble with doing that. eSword is available on Windows-based PCs. That's where it got its start, but it's also now available on Apple Macintosh computers. It can also be used on Apple iPads and iPhones. So obviously, especially the iPhone with a much smaller screen, the interface is a little different, but it is available for all of those, and our material will work on them. I have not yet written a set of instructions I'm willing to release to everybody on exactly how to install it onto your iPad or your iPhone, but if you need to do that and want to do that, I can provide that information to you, and it's not difficult. The reason we haven't officially released how to install it onto the iPad and iPhone, eSword, you just buy it out of the App Store and put it on there, but to put our material into eSword there is because the developer of eSword has not officially himself released a way to do that. He doesn't mind us doing it, but since he doesn't officially support that, then we try to respect a little bit, his prerogative as the owner of the material, and as he's putting out so generously free of charge to everyone. So we don't, publicly publish how to install the stuff on there. We just let people know you can do it, and we'll be happy to share with you if you want to know that. Okay, so let's see a little bit how this works. Here I have eSword open. I've gone to 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 1. And it starts out right there. Paul called to be an apostle of Jesus Christ by the will of God, and Sosthenes our brother. Well, what would we like to know about that? Well, most people already know what apostles are, but I can point at apostle and click on that. And as soon as I click on it, the dictionary goes and looks it up. Now, right now, I just happen to have, let's see which one of the dictionaries I have open here. I actually have Vine's Expository Dictionary because here we can see the word in the Greek language, the Strong's number for it, and here's his definition concerning apostle or apostolos. And of course we can scroll down to see the whole article there. But I can do that with other things as well. Over in the commentary window, you might notice it's already opened up to 1 Corinthians over there as well. I can go up and click on SIBI, and it will open up our book written based on the teaching of Abe Lincoln concerning 1 Corinthians. Well, it just turns out that Jim McGuigan has also written a commentary on that. So when I click on that, here's the beginning of his commentary on 1 Corinthians. So immediately we can start seeing that these things are linked together. Now, I'm going to make a little more room on the screen because eSword is easy to adjust things around. I don't take very many notes in the notes or editor down here, so I'm just going to tell that to go away for right now. And it just stuck it up here in the corner out of the way, and I can click on it and it'll go back again. And because I like more of the scriptures visible, I can take my dictionary and drag it over here to the other side and turn loose of it. Now I have more scripture, because I like to always see the context I'm reading in. And now I have my commentary and my dictionary section here. Mentioned apostle, it looked it up in the dictionary there. Besides the Vine's Expository Dictionary, I can look up something else. I think I've got the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia there, and it looks it up there for me. And I can read more about apostle. If you're just introducing the book to your class, that's probably something you'll be doing when you're teaching that. But I want us to look at somebody else mentioned in that very first verse. And we don't often think about this, but apparently Paul had help writing this letter to the Corinthians. And who helped him? Sosthenes. Yeah, a man named Sosthenes. It says Paul, called as an apostle of Jesus Christ by the will of God, and Sosthenes our brother, to the church of God which is at Corinth. Well, who's Sosthenes? Well, the first thing I can do is just click on it, and the dictionary will go look it up for me. And not a very long article in the ISBE about it, but it says that, hey, he's mentioned somewhere else in the scripture. He's actually mentioned back in the book of Acts, chapter 18, when Paul first goes to Corinth. But a very unusual thing happened that involves Sosthenes when we get back there to that story. Do you remember what happened in Acts 18 when Paul goes to Corinth? He starts out in the synagogue at Corinth like he did in almost every place he went. And one of his first converts was a person named Crispus. If you remember that, and it says Crispus was the synagogue ruler. The man who was in charge of the Jewish synagogue. That would be sort of like equivalent to one of our elders in our congregations, or often in the synagogues, they had a little bit more of a hierarchical structure. They'd have the chief ruler, and then they would have several other men under him, which might be part of the reason the early church quickly went from just having elders to having bishops and elders. That's my opinion, is that they were still imitating something of what happened in synagogues. But this man Crispus, the synagogue ruler, becomes a believer. Well, eventually the Jews turn against Paul, the ones who are unbelievers, and even bring charges against him before the new governor that they have in the area. Governor wasn't the right word the Romans used for it, but roughly the same as a governor. And meanwhile, the Jews apparently appoint another synagogue ruler, and because he doesn't seem to be opposing Paul like they are, they actually drag this other synagogue ruler in front of the judgment seat of the Roman ruler and beat him right in front of them. Well, since apparently this synagogue ruler wasn't a Roman citizen, the governor just turned his back, basically, it says in the scripture. Now, if he had been a Roman citizen, he could have arrested them for beating him. But since he wasn't a Roman citizen, just a resident of Rome, Roman Empire, then they could do he didn't have nearly the rights otherwise. But that guy that got beaten in front of the judgment seat was Sosthenes, another synagogue ruler. And now suddenly here he shows up when 5 years later, Paul is writing a letter back to the church in Corinth. Who is with him? Sosthenes, the man who had initially been a synagogue ruler in the synagogue, and apparently after Crispus was converted, then Sosthenes. Certainly if he wasn't converted before his fellow Jews turned on him and beat him afterwards, I think he had little love left for, those in that synagogue, and at some point he became a believer. And now here he is with Paul. So there's a connection here that's an apologetic, that is, it helps verify the veracity of what we're reading in Acts and 1 Corinthians, because they're linking together same people, events that tie together, and so forth. And so here's this man Sosthenes. Now, it'll be just a little bit further down in 1 Corinthians that we start bumping up against some of these other folks that Paul had originally met there in Corinth and converted as well. When Paul is talking to them, he says that you remember the issue, one of the issues there was that people were saying, I'm of Paul, I'm of Apollos, I'm of Cephas, I'm of Christ. And Paul says, I thank God that I baptized none of you except Crispus and Gaius. Well, Crispus, that was that first synagogue ruler that became a believer very early on. Paul's mentioning him again. And then he says, and Gaius. And then he does mention in verse 2 down, he said, oh yes, I also baptized the household of Stephanas. But if there was anyone else, I don't remember. Certainly there were others with Paul that could do most of the literal physical baptizing. Well, here's Crispus. We've already met him. He's back in Acts chapter 18 also. And then here's this other man named Gaius. Now, one of the things that Paul did while he was in Corinth, he wrote a letter to the Romans. That's where our book of Romans came from. And at the end of the book, in Romans chapter 16, and in verse 23, Paul writing from Corinth to Rome says, my guest, or the one I am the guest of, here at Corinth, Gaius, sends you greetings. Now, we could dig all that out eventually in our regular print books, but that just shows up so quickly. Here, I can just click on Gaius, goes and looks him up in the dictionary, tells us other places where he might be mentioned, and there apparently was another brother possibly in the New Testament named Gaius as well, and that shouldn't be surprising. We have more than one John and more than one Jeff and more than one Richard in the church too. But this same Gaius is mentioned as not only here, Paul saying it's one of the ones he baptized early on in Corinth, but it connects back to when he was still at Corinth and he was staying in the house of Gaius. Apparently Gaius was probably a well-to-do member of the church and had facilities that was adequate to do that kind of thing. But this all just connects up. And so far, we're just mostly looking at the connection between the Bible and the dictionary. Now, most of Sunset's materials are over here in this category, and that is in the commentary category. So I'm going to make my dictionary go away here, so we just have just our Bible and our commentary, even though we really should wait to near the end of our study before we start looking at commentaries. Our many students who are in satellite schools, congregations that are using our materials on a Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night to offer our materials as a supplement to the congregation's own teaching program, and even allows people in those congregations to take these courses for credit towards a degree at Sunset. They will be using these commentaries that we produce here. This particular one on 1 Corinthians is either by Abe Lincoln, or we also published the one done by Jim McGuigan. And so they'll be using this material. And so as they're studying 1 Corinthians, they'll also be reading this commentary by McGuigan and the one by Lincoln as well. We also have taken our study guides. Most of you know what our study guides are. These are outline of all of the courses that we teach here at Sunset, and we call them study guides. They're keyed off most of the time to this textbook, but it's more an outline form, and so it doesn't classify as a commentary, but they're in our eSword materials. If I come to the top of my screen and go to several different ways to get to it. There's a little icon at the very top, so small even I can barely see it from this close. That says Reference Library, but I can get to it other ways. But I'm just going to click on Reference Library, and there's something I forgot I had there. I can go find our study guide on 1 Corinthians, and here it is, print awfully small, even on my computer, so I can make the print a little bigger here. And this is actually our study guide inside of eSword. Many of our teachers at our satellite schools will, follow this very closely as they're teaching the material or watching the videos and working through it with the students. You change chapters over on the left-hand side. Moving through our 1 Corinthians, a little different. Most of them either are 12 or 24 lessons. 1 Corinthians happens to be 22. Any of you ever sat under Brother Lincoln, you know that when he talked until he was finished, then he quit. Right. Well, when he was recording this for us, after 22 lessons, he said, I'm done. That's it. No more. So we only have 22 chapters with Abe Lincoln material. Yes, Tom?
So I can't see it from here. That reference says study guides?
Yes, right at the top, it very small print, it says SG for study guide, 1 Corinthians.
And that's automatic if we have the Sunset SIBI commentaries, it's
But we sell it in two bundles. One, just the commentaries, which is $49. I think that's listed on
I
page
have them
2.
all, I never
Yeah.
noticed that.
Is the commentary set, and then then we have where you can buy just the study guides by themselves, which are also $49. Or we just have a bundle, which is everything we make, which is McGuigan, study guides, and the commentary textbooks. The whole package is $89.
I had the PDFs, I just didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Leave it to you, Rich.
And any of you who might have bought originally just the main package, we will level that up for you for just the difference in the price. You just can contact me and we'll take care of that. We'll take care of you whatever way necessary. But yeah, by the time if you get our complete package for the $89.99, you're talking about, I believe it's, was it 35 commentaries and textbooks, 36 commentaries and textbooks, 45 study guides. So you're getting, that's close to 81 books, I think, that we publish in print form. You went across the street when the bookstore is open and buy each one individually in print form. You're probably talking at least $700 or $800 in print form. We also sell them in other forms. You can buy them all in PDF digital format for people who just want to read it. They're also available, not the study guides, but the commentaries and textbooks at least, in Kindle format. You can purchase them that way. But no matter which other way you get them, you'll pay far more for them, even from us, than just buying the whole bundle and sticking it in eSword, if that's something that's useful to you. Yes, sir.
These bundles are each individual section. How is it delivered? I mean, when we buy that,
If you can buy it off of our website and specify you want us to mail you a flash drive with them on it, or you can just select to download them right then as soon as you purchase.
okay, so that
Download
download is
button.
available also.
Yeah, and instructions included along with it about installing it. And that's true both of the PC or Windows-based version as well as the Apple-based version. They have slightly different styles depending on whether it's the Apple or the PC version. But some people like me, I own PCs and Macs both. So, but it's yours to download both of them if you wish. If you have both kinds of computers. But yes, Tom.
Yeah, so I have the whole Kindle library, and I like using the Kindle separately. But all those books are in that bundle as well?
Yes.
How do I access those books? That's not in that drop-down list.
No, those other. This is not Kindle inside of eSword. This is actually,
But how do I get to them?
Okay, these are all called reference books. All the study guides are in the reference library part of eSword. And that was simply, when you have regular eSword open, there is, at the top of the screen, the very last little thing, there's like a little set of books. That's the reference library. When you click on it, a new window opens up. And you can move that window around if some few people have the luxury of having two monitors that they work at. I mean, so you can drag that second window over to the other monitor, and so you can have the main eSword window and the reference library window on separate monitors, or if you just got one big monitor, you can resize it all so they're side by side.
That's good to know, because with Kindle, I have to download them, and sometimes I can't, where I am, I can't get the.
But the big advantage of eSword, in addition to having these at a reasonable cost, is the immediate ability to copy and paste out of any of this stuff into your notes. Or if you've got Microsoft Word open, to just switch over to Word and paste it in there. You just select it. We haven't copy protected our material in any way. And so you can just select anything out of our commentaries, our study guides, say copy, move over to the other, say paste, and just put it right into your notes you're working on. Yes, ma'am.
So these other resource books that are not commentaries, are they in under the reference?
They're all in, yeah, they are. If they're not in the commentary class category, then they're going to be under the reference library. So, because there's a few of our books that aren't really commentaries, like Ted Stewart's Apologetics 2.
I've seen those.
Or even Ed Wharton's Historical Christian Evidences, the textbook. That's not a commentary. It doesn't link to the scripture directly, even though he uses lots of scripture. And so, like I say, I've opened back up my reference library, and I can scroll back up here, and Leader Strong Churches by Truman Scott. Again, it's small print, I'm sorry. Levitical sacrificial system. I've got some books here that are part of that I've purchased that goes in as well, Bible Manners and Customs, the Holman Bible Atlas, and so forth. But yeah, all of those that are not commentaries that are ours will go over into this reference library. You can either access that immediately by clicking on the little icon at the top of the screen, or come over here under Tools and go down to Reference Library and select it that way. And there's also a keyboard shortcut. In other words, you just hold a certain key and hit it and it will pop up. That's where I need to tell you about the eSword, shall we call it manual, eSword User's Guide. I've got mine tagged for a few things I want to remember how to do because I don't do them often enough to use it every day. But this is the eSword User's Guide that is available to download free off of the Bible Support website. You have the address for, or if you happen to buy a flash drive from us, we include it on there. They give us permission to just put that on there. It's in PDF format. So you can either read it on your computer screen or tablet screen, or you can do like I do and print it out. I'm still a much paper guy, even before computers came along. So I'm very much a paper guy. And it's 240 something pages, everything you might want to know about using eSword in very clear, screenshots, very simple instructions, and so forth. This was all written by the man who maintains the Bible Support website. That's what kind of vision he has for this software. And again, it's free. So I recommend that to you to get by either going and downloading it, or if you purchase our flash drive, it should be on there for you. Now, if you do our download off of our website, we don't include it that way. But if you do happen to buy the flash drive, or just go to BibleSupport.com. And you can get that. Okay. Yes, sir. Joe.
Will your material work at all with Logos?
It does not. We talked to Logos quite extensively about including our material as a resource people could use in Logos. And a couple of things that finally put us off is not the quality of their software. It's a great package. I own it. All $5,000 or $6,000 I've invested in it so far. But it's that, first of all, they would not let us develop our material for it. We had to develop, then submit it to them. And then if they wanted to include it, they would charge us, at the time, they quoted us a price of roughly $1,000 per book. They would charge Sunset just to convert it into the Logos version, and then they would sell it to those who use Logos, which that's their business model, and I don't have any problem with that. But they don't give us any way to make our stuff work with Logos, and that's to one degree or another is also the case with Olive Tree, which is a very popular package in which I own, and some others. There is one other company called Leridian Pocket Bible that they would allow us to develop our stuff for their package, but we couldn't sell it. We had to give it away free if we did. And that would be the only, and just to be Christians and gentlemen about that. Therefore, we weren't going to try to work around their rules and regulations. We chose not to go that. eSword is the world's most popular Bible software program. So I think we chose the right horse to run with. But there's all sorts of other, things I could illustrate for you, but essentially, it's just a way to take what all of us have done in the past, and what some of us probably still do as part of the time, is what we do in print version to get it all on a computer screen at one time. And eSword is my go-to package. Whenever I'm preparing a lesson, a Bible class or something, I have those others, and only if I can't find something I need in eSword, then I'll fire up Logos or Olive Tree's Bible study program and use that. Even when I come to church here at Sunset, unless I'm teaching that morning, I bring my iPad with me. And on my iPad, I have, my copy of eSword with our materials in it. And so as Monty Pettyjohn or Bill Tracy or Charles Spear or whoever's preaching that morning, or if I'm in Bible class, I'm following along and checking other references and so forth. It's enriching because I'm not just sitting there with my Bible. As much as I love my print Bible, I can immediately go look up something in the dictionary while they're talking. I can go read in the commentary what somebody says about what they're talking about. If I wish to, I can go see what the background to that subject is. I know Sunday morning Monty was talking about communion and it being a vital part of the assembly of Christians. Well, I could quickly go see what's sort of the history and background of, the Lord's Supper in Christianity. All of those things are possible when you are using something like eSword. And whether you have it on a tablet like I do, as well as on my PC and Macs, or whether you just even get the version that works on your iPhone. I look around in the congregation, I see people all around me sitting there with their phones. Now, if you have an Android phone, you're out of luck. They haven't come out with eSword for Android yet, but if you do have an iPhone, eSword works on it as well. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to be sure I understand correctly that all this, once it's eSword software itself and anything from Sunset, it's downloaded. It doesn't require to be connected Wi-Fi to the
No,
internet
sir.
at
No,
all. So you're carrying everything you have on
That's right.
whatever device it is.
which is one of the big advantages of any Bible software package is once you get your resources, just to carry these few books I've got scattered out here on the table, if I wanted to go to Bible class with those, I've got to carry more than a briefcase or a satchel. I've got to carry a box with me just to take it to Bible class with me. But instead, I just take my tablet with me. And I've got in this tablet literally hundreds of books at my instant access, just like I do at my desktop or my laptop. And so it gives me that access instantly, and they're all connected together. So wherever I am in the scriptures, immediately the commentaries over to that place. If I tap on any word in the scripture, the dictionary is automatically looking that up for me. If in the commentary or something, like here's in this commentary here, he mentions 1 Corinthians 11:8 in the passage there. I can just put my mouse over it, and a new window pops up and tells me actually what that scripture says. Us who preach and teach are really bad about rattling off scripture references without actually reading them. This actually allows you to go see what that passage said just by passing your mouse over it. It immediately pops up a new window as soon as you do that. Genesis 2:18 right there. And I can change translations. I think I probably have New American Standard open right now, but here's the English Standard Version, here's the NIV version. I'm just thinking of the ones I have. Probably don't have the New King James Version on here, though I own it, and I own several others as well. So essentially what I'm saying is whether you use our material or not, and we would love for you to use it because this is what we're teaching in our classrooms, and this is what our students in our satellite schools and branch schools are being taught. But whether you actually get our materials or not, I just highly recommend you start learning how to use the eSword Bible software program if you don't already use it. And the user's guide will let you know all sorts of things you can do that you just didn't know that was possible before. I just found out earlier this week in preparing for this lesson that I can actually take outlines I've created over in Word. I can just open my Word document, I can copy that. Actually, I don't have to copy it. I can go into my editor. Remember, I had that open earlier over here. Right here, I can come into my editor, and I can say import and tell it to import my Word document right into here. Then I can say save it. And then the next time I open up my reference library, there it is in my reference library with all the other stuff. I don't even have to go open my Word program anymore with my outline in it. Now I've stuck it into my reference library. So a lot of thought has gone into this. eSword's been around quite a number of years. It's up to version 11.2.2 on his website right now. I think I first got involved back when it was at version 5. And that's probably been, 16, 18 years ago now, when I first discovered it. And they just keep adding features to it. And now he does ask you, if you do go download it from his website, you get a little thing that pop up and says, hey, I give this to everyone free. Or actually, he's got a whole team of people working with him now that we give this away to you free. If it blesses you, and if you're willing to, if you'd like to donate a few dollars, just click right here and we'll take your money. We're not asking for it, but we'll take it if you offer it. So I would recommend you do that. About once a year, I'll make another donation. We've been doing that for years to him. He mentioned somewhere on his website that I think less than 1% of the people who download the program ever donate. But I like to be a part of the minority, so I'm in the 1%. So, any other questions? Do mention on the back, we are intending to produce some additional resources for to go with eSword. They'll probably mostly appear in the reference library section. And we also, at some point, do intend to actually do some short tutorials that we can put up on our website and on YouTube that anyone can watch to learn how to do other things inside of eSword. Yes, ma'am.
I had heard that they were, converting all the old, like, classroom, recordings of classes,
Yes.
to make available. Will that be as part of this, or will that be?
No, it'll be a separate one. Now, what you're asking in our, it's 10:31, so if you need to go to your next class. But we have another initiative we've now started up after this called Sunset Online Digital Library.
Right.
We're taking all of the recorded resources of Sunset, audio and video, that we've made that are suitable to release to the public. We're creating